everyone, Jono here, back again with another Forbidden Memories challenge run. Last time in Forbidden Memories, Sarah and I successfully beat the game using a female-only deck, placing us at the halfway mark of our type challenge runs. Before I add a star to the board, I realised in the last video that I had used an older version of the chart. Let's give it a revamp and add a star next to females. There was a fairly even tie for the next runs you all wanted me to attempt. But for the sake of this video, FIEND ended up on top simply because I had a plot line ready for it. So let's get straight into things and move on to the type analysis. Fiends are the second largest cohort of monsters in Forbidden Memories. There are 69 Fiends in total. 37 are available to the player in the initial deck, 25 are unlockable during the story, and 1 drops from the final 6 if you choose to not redeem it via card password. The last 6 are stuck behind the pocket station. Our initial deck temporarily looks like this. Some of you already know why. Giving a quick recap of the rules, there are 3 additional entries specific to this run. Number 1, we are not permitted to use Metal Morph on Zoa. Number 2, we can only farm 1 monster from Story Heishin. And number 3, we are not allowed to redeem a copy of Bistro Butcher from the card password machine until we reach the final 6. Bistro Butcher drops from Seto3, but can be redeemed for 160 star chips. You will naturally obtain 160 star chips after 32 duels at an A rank, placing you exactly at the start of the vast shrine. Enough talk, let's jump straight into the story. And immediately jump right back out of the story, because it's time for some grinding. Our first opponent for this run is Duel Master K. If we achieve an A rank against him, there is a chance that he will drop a job change mirror, albeit at a 0.68% rate. For first time players of this game, Duel Master K is a tutorial duelist that runs an exact copy of your deck, meaning you'll know each and every card he has, hence why we set up our starting deck that way. In stacking the deck with no equips, spells or fusions, you're almost guaranteed an A rank if you play 1 face-up card per turn and win before turn 13. Yes, it's not an optimal setup, but it's brain dead enough for you to do it while watching TV. I guess that's one thing that makes Forbidden Memories so unique. Unlike other games where you can button mash the A button just to grind out whatever you need, this requires intelligence and patience. I didn't roll that much into those stats when I came into this world, so I'll take the brain dead option anytime. Let's not forget, this is Forbidden Memories. You're gonna be here a while. With the demonstration over, we make ourselves comfortable and repeat this. 53 duels later, and Duel Master K drops us a job change mirror. Our revised deck looks like this. Fiends have an inconsistent equip compatibility, so some of our 1300 attack monsters were swapped for weaker variants. Raigeki, Yami and 4 sets of equips cap things off at the end. We are dummy thick with the equip, but it's needed for Story Heishin. Walking back up to Simon, with 3 minutes and 10 seconds into this video, we are finally ready to begin the story. Every single monster in our deck is over 1000 attack points. Simon's strongest monster is 1000 attack points. Immediately, without fusions or equips, we've beaten Simon, Teana and Villager 1. So long as we attack every turn, of course. The only real risk we have is if Simon somehow pulls off an Exodia. But aside from that, by simply playing 1 card per turn and attacking per turn, the X button is all you need for this duel. A baby is more than capable of finishing this. You know what, 1 second, let me grab mine. Say hi everyone.
Hi.
Do you want to finish this duel for me? Hi. Okay, right now you are just smacking the microphone, so I might have to give you a controller and try this another time. Well done indeed, we won. As Simon goes down, I'm gonna go put my baby away and I'll return in a sec. Okay, with Simon out of the way, it's time to head down to the duel grounds and kick up our next duel against Teana. As mentioned during the Simon duel, these are going to be GG easy. So let's take a look at the Fiend type in Forbidden Memories. Fiends, I want to say bad, but I think it's more correct to call them an advanced type. They're not intended for beginners. They only have access to a single fusion within their type. But thankfully, that fusion is Summon Skull, and Summon Skull kicks friggin' ass, and you probably saw that from the starting turn. Throw Yami on the field and all of our base 1300 monsters are hitting for 1800 attack without fusing. Guess what? If you have access to a pocket station, you get access to Zero Demont, Chakra, Fiend's Mirror, Psycho Puppet, and Summon Skull as standalone cards. Pocket Station Fiends are busted, and we've already defeated Teana and are straight away into Villager 1. Geez, slow down. Augustus, sweetheart, save some room for later. Anywho, getting back to the Fiend analysis, for single type runs, Fiends are not so GG easy as you might think. Don't get me wrong, having access to Summon Skull this early is a massive boost. However, outside of that, the stronger feed cards are stuck behind rituals, pocket stations, rare S ranks, or just from late game opponent drops. In a regular playthrough, however, Fiends do have access to some good fusions, but more on that in the next duel. Giselle goes down with our second Summon Skull. He awards us a Fungi of Musk. Sorry, we already have that. Moving on to the next villager, we will need to pay attention. The strongest card we have to contend with is Jirai Guma at 2200 attack. However, it is a 0.05% chance of him using it, so instead we're contending with a 1600 attack Dragon Zombie. Powering ourselves up for turn 2, let's pick up where we left off. Fiends have some respectable fusions, however they are very card specific and not all that splashable. So, in no particular order, let's go through them. Let's get the obvious one out of the way. If you fuse a Job Change Mirror with any Fiend, you'll end up with Summon Skull. That is the only Fiend to Fiend fusion. More to follow in the next duel, because Villager 2 goes down. He awards us a Water Element, and of course, victory in one attempt thus far. Villager 3 is equal in difficulty to Villager 2. So on that, let's pick up where we left off. Starting with Summon Skull, if you fuse a Summon Skull with a Red Eyes Black Dragon, you'll end up with a Black Skull Dragon. Darn shame that this is technically a 3-card fusion, since Summon Skull as a standalone card is locked behind the pocket station. Moving on, combining Fungi of the Musk with any Fiend under 1200 attack will result in Dark World Thorns. Similarly, mixing Mystical Sheep number 1 with a Fiend under 800 attack will result in Mystical Sheep number 2. I'll pause right there because we're on the final turn. I triggered Raigeki a bit prematurely the last turn, but it doesn't matter. We attack the game with Horn Imp and old Greg goes down. We did this in an A rank and we got a Lady of Faith. With the villager trio done and dusted, it's time to exit out to the town plaza and partake in the Mage Festival. Nothing out of the ordinary to see, so we move someplace else and witness a duel between Jono 1 and Seto 1. You'll be relieved to know that this is not the female video, so there are no longer any cursed titties on your screens. I apologise to both you, the audience, and Adobe Photoshop for what you had to witness during that video. Anywho, we exit the town plaza and return to the duel grounds to kick off a duel against Jono 1. What's that? Jono 1? Yes, I did. Did I just recycle that joke? Yes and no. Technically, it was part of this script first before I said it in the other video. You know the one. Getting back to the duel, Jono's strongest monster is Baby Dragon at 1200 attack. We beat that with literally every card in our hand. Let's resume the Fiend fusions. Combining a Dragon with a Fiend under 1500 attack will result in Komori Dragon. Moving back to the card specific fusions, if you mix an Arlone with any Fiend, you'll get Rose Spectre of Dun. Mixing the mighty Psychic Kappa with a Fiend will give you Kappa Avenger, Crass Clown with any Reptile will give you Soul Hunter, and an Elf mixed with a Mercury Fiend will give you Dark Elf. Oh, before I forget, Mercury Fiend plus a Dragon will give you Blackland Fire Dragon instead of Komori Dragon. Okie dokie, Jono 1 goes down and he awards us a Menschmal Zombie, and I believe we have A-ranked all of our duels thus far. Following us to the grounds like the lingering fart that he is, Seto 1 challenges us to a duel. Seto's first deck is a drastic increase in power compared to every other opponent we've faced. His strongest monster is Guy the Fierce Knight at 2300, and everything else seems to decline from 1800 downwards. Unless he uses a Dark Hole, we won't have any problems with this duel. So, back to the fusions. This next one involves two non-fiend monsters. If you combine a Jar, or a Dragon Piper, with a Spellcaster, you'll end up with Ushi Oni. Combining Ancient Jar with Mystery Hand will give you a Wicked Worm Beast, and fusing Ryukushin with a Winged Beast will give you Whiptail Crow. I'll continue the rest in the next duel, because Seto 1 goes down. Being defeated in a duel, Seto runs off to go cry in a corner somewhere. Whilst he's doing that, I think it's time we call it a night. Bidding our due to our friends, we make our way back to the palace. Oh, most importantly, we need to go save our game. You'll find out why in a sec. Well, it's actually no secret, we're gonna grind off story Heishin. What did you expect? Anywho, Simon confronts us and sends us to our room. Retreating to his chambers, he catches a breaking news story on his Millennium TV.
Προσέξτε αυτό το δαιμόνιο, το νέο δαιμόνιο. Έχει ολόκληρο διάβολο μέσα εδώ. Εδώ μέσα έχει ολόκληρο διάβολο. Τούτο είναι ο Αντίχριστος.
Horrified by what he saw, he hears rumbling outside and emerges to a broken room and a smug Heishin. Smug Shin has heard about the breaking news and has wasted no time in revealing his newfound power. Very fiendish indeed. Vibrating out of our room, Seto captures Fizdis and chases us outside. During the confrontation, Simon appears out of nowhere and hands us a Millennium item. This is currently our only defense against the Furby. Removing ourselves from both Simon and Seto, we're faced up against Heishin. It is at this point that we were faced with a dilemma that forced me to introduce rule number 2. Bakura Box is a monster that only drops from Heishin at an S rank, or alternatively by collecting 900 star chips. Story Heishin starts the duel with a Yami field, meaning all my 1300 attack monsters bump up to 1800 attack, and Summon Skull starts at a whopping 3000 attack. Under these conditions, it is possible for me to win Bakura Box from Heishin this early on in the story. So what's the problem? Well, the dilemma comes from the other cards that drop from story Heishin. He drops all the cards we need for our final 6 deck. My initial plan was to farm them from Seto2 and the High Mages, however we're in a situation where we can technically get them all in this encounter. Due to the exceedingly low rate in which these monsters drop, we will most certainly fail during one of our attempts. This will cause us to lose all of our progress since we'd have to reload the save to get back to this point. Without knowing how to RNG abuse this game, the rule has limited us to target only one card from story Heishin. This is to maintain fairness across types. It also will set the precedence for our later Aqua and Thunder runs. I wish I could tell you how many attempts this took me, but honestly I have been grinding this duel on my train ride to work for about a week or so. Doing some quick math in my head, averaging about 2 minutes a duel, I knock out about 30 of these during my travels. So in a week, I'd be doing around 210 duels. Let's convert that to star chips. Assuming all of these were A rank, that places me at 1050 star chips. It would have genuinely been easier, faster and more consistent to farm these things from Simon. At 1050, adding on 2 more duels, I could have bought this card and friggin' Bistro Butcher from the password machine. With the amount of time it's taken me to win this card, we find ourselves in the present. As I'm recording this in mid-April 2025, the latest YCS was the one in Mexico City. The winning deck was Memento Titland, if that means anything to anybody. Anywho, saving our game, we head straight up to Rex, after we slot in our 3 Bazinga boxes. Since we have access to 2300 and 2500 attack monsters, we can steamroll the tournament and head straight to Egypt. So now is as good time as any to continue the fusion trivia and start the monster trivia. It goes without saying that there are a large number of fiends to cover. There would definitely be a part 2 of this video as there are too many to cover off in one sitting, but I digress. Looking at power-ups, if you combine a Metal Morph with a Zoa, you'll end up with Metal Zoa. Mixing a Crass Clown with a Final Flame will result in a Clown Zombie, and mixing a Monster Eye with House of Adhesive Tape will create Big Eye, which I think is pretty friggin' hilarious. Moving to the equip fusions, if you combine a Castle of Dark Illusions with Dark Piercing Light, you'll get a Bright Castle. Combining a Karibo with an Elegant Egotist will give you a Vol Germs, and combining a Mira with an Electro Whip will give you Elegant Egotist. Getting back to the duel, we land the final attack against Rex, and he goes down. Likely an S rank, yes it was, we get a Petite Angel and go back and save our game. Our next opponent is Weevil. The only monster we need to watch out for is his Jiraigumo at 2200 attack. That is of course if he summons it. If he doesn't, we're just going to pick up where we left off with the trivia. Our turn 1 starts off with 2 Job Change Mirrors. They of course make a Summon Skull. But the big question is, which of the mirrors became the Summon Skull? And better yet, if it's a mirror, why didn't we get Infinite Summon Skull? Question for the ages. What's even more questionable are the next set of fusions. I am of course talking about glitch fusions. For those unaware, due to a bug in the fusion routine, there are 15 fusions in Forbidden Memories that are completely unintentional. The ones that involve fiends are as follows. If you combine a Komori Dragon with a Summoned Skull, you'll end up with a Cocoon of Evolution. Mixing Komori Dragon with Sagi the Dark Clown will give you Reaper of Cards, and the following monsters will all result in a Witty Phantom. In no particular order, those are Oslo Hero number 2 with Spirit of the Harp, Wolf with Jin Witcher of the Wind, Guy Katena Megami and Weather Control, and lastly Armored Zombie and Wood Clown. Now that we've defeated Weevil, let's take a small break, because it's time for a lesson. Let me explain glitch fusions in a bit more detail. If this topic doesn't interest you, please feel free to use the timestamps to skip to the next duel. Let's take a look inside the Forbidden Memory CD. Within the game data, a file exists called WAMRG. This file stores the bulk of the card and UI data for this game. Residing in the file is a fusion table. The fusion table is structured in two parts. One part is the offset header, and the second part are the subtables. The offset header is used to store the pointer values for all card fusions. Think of it like a table of contents for each card. The pointer value directs the game to where it can find that card's fusion list. The fusion list is stored as a subtable. Each card that has a fusion will have a subtable which contains all the cards it can fuse with and their end result. Now my knowledge from this point is a little limited. Please feel free to correct me in the comments if I say something wrong. Each fusion is stored as a card pair in a subtable. To make things efficient, since card order is not important in fusions, only one permutation of a given fusion pair is stored in memory, rather than duplicating it across subtables of both monsters. Let's take Thousand Dragon as an example. It uses Baby Dragon and Time Wizard as its materials. The Thousand Dragon fusion pair is stored in Baby Dragon subtable, and won't appear in the Time Wizard table. Baby Dragon holds this entry since its card ID comes before Time Wizard when you're looking at the cards in card ID order. The deduplication that you witness there is where things start to get messy. As a result of this process, certain subtables will have an odd number of fusion pairs contained within them. Why are odd tables a problem? Well, the issue stems from how the cards are stored in the game memory. Each card ID in Forbidden Memories is made up of 10 bits. One fusion pair is 20 bits. PlayStation store data in bytes, which are 8 bits in size. 20 bits does not fit nicely in bytes, as it equates to about 2.5 bytes. Each fusion would therefore need 3 bytes to be appropriately stored on their own in memory, and one of those ending bytes will contain some unused bits as a result. This is not efficient, especially given the limited space on a CD and the metric buttload of fusions in this game. To compress this information, the game bundles 2 fusion pairs together when storing them in memory. 2 fusions equal 4 card IDs, which equal 40 bits. 40 bits is exactly 5 bytes. Compressing the data together like this when storing it leaves no wasted space and saves on memory. It lets the game also run faster as a result. Now, this compression works well if your subtables have an even number of fusions. If the subtable has an odd number of fusions, there will be a problem storing the last fusion, as there's only one pair present. What does the game do in this case? As the devs did not pad out the odd numbered tables, the last byte will be packed with whatever data is sitting next to it, which in this case is the header data from the next card subtable. Now that we know how memory is stored, this is how the fusion routine operates. When you trigger a fusion, the game runs a fusion check. It loads the subtable of the first card, it reads how many fusions are in the table, then it goes through each fusion pair one by one until it finds a match. Since the last fusion in the list isn't neatly paired and has pulled data from another table, the game will try and execute it. In most cases, it fails as a non-fusion, and in those 15 other cases, the routine will succeed if the bits resemble a proper card ID. And there you go, there's some knowledge for that cranium of yours. Let's get back to the story and take on our next opponent. Okay, we're back. Hopefully I didn't fry your brains too hard on that last bit. Moving on to our next opponent, we're faced with Mai. Mai will be our next grind target, as she drops Lajin the Mystical Genie, Witty Phantom, Lord of the Lamp, Barox, Feral Imp, and Castle of Dark Illusions. That 1800 attack Lajin is only going to make our deck more consistent, so I'll gladly welcome the addition of a Green Woolsmith. For the sake of progress, I won't grind out these next cards till, I don't know, maybe the Shadi Cutscene. Doesn't make sense to grind for it now, we are more than strong enough to take on these next set of opponents. Getting up to the last turn of the duel, Mai summons nothing, so we pop off a Raigeki for the win and attack for game with Summon Skull. We win! Mai goes down and awards us an Immortal of Thunder. I haven't figured out which of Mai's drops will make it into the deck, but I'll have a look at their equip card compatibility and make a decision from there. Anywho, Our next opponent is Keith. Bandit Keith drops the same cards as Mai, with the addition of Morinfen and Crass Clown. I'm going to ignore both those two cards. Crass Clown isn't worth the grind for the value it adds, and Morinfen has a stupidly low drop rate for how crap of a card it is. Now that we've covered off all the Fiend fusions, let's start the monster trivia. Kicking things off, we have Lord of Zemia. Lord of Zemia is an OCG only card releasing in Booster Pack 6, and it appeared once during the anime during episode 56 of Battle City, summoned by Kaiba. And that's all she wrote. Keith goes down, awards us a Bone Mouse, and all this was achieved in one try. Time for some grinding before the Shadi Cutscene. Smacking our head against both Mai and Keith, we obtain a copy of Barrox, Castle of Dark Illusions, Crass Clown, Feral Imp, Lajin, Lord of the Lamp, and Witty Phantom. That last Crass Clown was an accident. Revamping our deck, this is what it looks like. Certain cards like Witty Phantom, though we grinded for it, were subbed out because they're only compatible with one equip. The rest were just natural improvements. Back in the present, Joey is looking at a Big W catalogue for a gift for Serenity. Based on what I know, I highly recommend the Furby. Turns out they re-released the friggin' things, 2023, and they're still on the friggin' shelves. Letting that reality sink in, we're interrupted by Shadi. Shadi tells us that our past doppelganger has lost his mind grinding against an old man to win his Jack-in-the-Box. I'm sickened but curious, guess I'll click here to find out more. Sucked into the Ankh, we meet our past self. With no words exchanged, he hands us all the cards awarded to him from Grindshin. Better remember to wash my hands after using these. Jumping out of the Millennium plot device, we're still looking at Shadi. I don't want to look at Shadi, so I'm just going to skip straight ahead to the deck setup. Now remember kids, Shadi is a pushover of a duelist. If you lose to him, you suck at this game, and you should end your Yu-Gi-Oh career right here, right now. If you don't, a Furby will be under your bed. Anywho, apologies in advance, I think I'm coming down with another cold. If I sound like a beat up Simon halfway through this video, you'll know why. Getting to the last two turns of the game, we attack his life points with Witty Phantom, which by the way only uses one equip card, and Bakura Box. Shadi responds with nothing, so we drop a Raigeki for the win and attack for game with Bazinga Box. We win. Shadi goes down and awards us a Toadmaster. On to the next duel. But first let's steal his stuff, as per the common law of the land. Our next opponent that we're up against is Yami Bakura. Bakura runs a defensive-ish female deck, if that makes sense. The strongest monster he's going to summon is Dark Elf, or alternatively, Labyrinth Wall. So with that victory decided, let's kick off the monster trivia. Starting with the cards in our deck, our first monster is Barrox. Barrox first appeared in the anime during the Duelist Kingdom arc. It was part of Panic's deck. It was later released in the TCG as part of Astral Pack 2. In 2013, that's a friggin' long time. Anywho, unlike the anime, it was printed as a fusion monster. The materials were Ryukushin and Frenzied Panda. Neither of those two cards are in Panic's deck. The jury's out as to what they were thinking when they made that one. Getting back to the card game, we're on to the last turn of the game. Popping off a Raigeki for the win, we attack with Lord of the Lamp. And then summon Skull because I can't math right. We win. Bakura goes down, awards us a Heishin Ningen, and we steal his Millennium items. Mine. Getting back to the shop, we gear up for our next opponent. And that's Pegasus. Get ready for the Bakura Box mirror match. And I wish I could say that was his biggest threat. Though he uses it often, we have to watch out for his Meteor Black Dragon and any potential Crimson Sunbird fusions. If the AI is on a back foot, there is also a chance he'll drop a Raigeki on us. Our starting turn isn't too great as we lose to one of his B-boxes, but thankfully ended up getting a Lajin with 2 equipped cards, so we use that and basically secure our victory for the rest of the duel. With Lajin on the screen, let's continue the trivia. Looking at Lajin, the mystical genie of the lamp in particular, the card released in starter deck Kaiba, and probably stayed in most people's decks till 1900 attack monsters became a thing. The wikis mention that this is a counterpart to Lord of the Lamp. After reviewing the 3D footage, the only similarity between those two cards is the lamp model. The rest of the models are completely different. Speaking of things different, in Arc 5 they introduced a fusion monster for this card called Firejin, the Flame Genie of the Lamp. Who knows why? But anywho, we're at the end of the duel. Pegasus goes down, awards us a fat squirrel, and we symbolically tell him that we'll be seeing him later. Back at the card shop, we save our game and get ready for the fight against Ishizu. Ishizu's main threat are her aqua monsters. She does carry a Black Skull Dragon in her deck, and she has the ability to bring out Twin Head. More than likely though, you're going to be dealing with Sea Snakes and Aqua Dragons. Nonetheless, with our starting turn, we have a heavily beefed up Bakura box, which is a great segue into our next trivia. Like Barox, Bakura box was another monster which debuted in the anime as a normal card, but then released in the TCG as a fusion. The materials needed to summon it out are Crass Clown and Dream Clown. Not entirely sure if both of those are in Pegasus's deck, but as the creator, I guess he'd have them somewhere. The card, despite not being a turn, is treated as a turn monster in some games, namely Duelist of the Roses, where it gets a boost from turn terrain. And that's about all there is to know. Ishizu goes down and she awards us an Ice Water. Stealing her Millennium Necklace, we make our way back to the card shop. Kaiba is our final opponent of the tournament. If the AI hates you, it's gonna let you know about it. Aside from his Blue Eyes White Dragon, Kaiba Boy is stocked up with Swords of Revealing Light, Dark Hole, Crush Card and Shadow Spell. Basically a more docile Seto2. In terms of his drop table, the only fiend that he drops us that we haven't encountered yet is Mystic Clown, which honestly I'm probably going to ignore because it's only 1500 attack. Getting back to the duel, we're on to the last two turns of the game. Kaiba summons nothing, so we Raigeki it away, and attack for game with Bazinga Box and Lajin the Mystical Woolsmith of the Lamp. Again, I'm 1600 points off. I get a bit premature with those Raigekis here and there, I apologise for that. I summon out a Feral Imp, then for some reason my brain has a fart and forgets how to play the game. Eventually remembering how to attack, we finish things off and Kaiba goes down. He awards us with a Ryukushin, which is sadly not the fiend we're looking for. Oh well, we grab his rod as compensation for that inconvenience. Having stolen all the Millennium items and shoved them into trading cards, it's time to head back to Egypt. Throwing some stuff into the sky, we're back at the staircase dimension. Being back crap scared of all the Furbies running around Millennium Egypt, Simon decides to stay behind, permanently. So I guess once again, it's all up to us. Eventually figuring out how to get out of the Shrine of Glory, we make our way back to Metropolis. Entering the duel grounds, I again would like to apologise for the nasally voice. I did end up coming down with a cold. I blame the Furbies. Being led back to a secret underground arena, it's time we have a duel against Jono 2 and Teana 2. Starting from the top, we have Jono. Both him and Teana are much weaker than the World Tournament opponents. So, it goes without saying, I'm going to cover off some trivia in these next few duels. Since it's on screen, let's cover off Feral Imp. It's one of the more iconic monsters in Yugi's deck, being used all the way up until Battle City. In the Konami TCG, Feral Imp is a green friendly looking level 4 1300 attack monster. In the Bandai TCG, this thing is a 5-star demonically red skin demon with 2000 attack. Stuff of nightmares right there. Glad it was toned down for the international release. As for other media, I do distinctly recall a figurine made of Feral Imp. Doing a quick Google search, I can see one that's been made by Mattel. Not sure if that's the same one we had in Australia. But anywho, I digress. Jono 2 goes down and we get a Turapurin. All of these duels, by the way, have been a first try victory. Looking to keep the streak going, let's hit up Teana 2. Based on our starting hand, we've won this. Orion the Battle King is the strongest single card she can summon against us. Aside from that, I don't know, she might fuse into something half decent if you leave all her monsters on the field. Anywho, it's time for some more trivia. The next card on the list is Lord of the Lamp. LOL released in Dark Beginnings 2, unless you count the Hobby Leagues, in which case it technically released a year earlier in Hobby League 1. According to the card's flavor text, this is the Jinn that resides within Mystic Lamp. La Jinn, the mystical genie on the other hand, resides within Ancient Lamp as per the manga panels. And that's about all there is to know. Dealing the final attack with a Bazinga Box, Teana 2 goes down. She awards us nothing useful, and again, first try victory. It's time to unlock the mages. There is a ruin, a forbidden ruin. It is a rare ruin, but also a forbidden ruin. And it's a ruin down in the King's Valley, yo. Row the forbidden ruin, the ruin in the valley-o. It's a rare ruin and a forbidden ruin and a ruin in the valley-o. Wiggles references aside, yes, I'm a parent, I have to make those, they live in my head rent-free. We meet up with Sidin. He has no idea where to take us, surprise surprise. So once again the onus is back on us to visit a crumbling palace to find the map. In our search we bump into a Mage Soldier. Time to challenge him to a duel. Mage Soldier is about as threatening as the tournament opponents, so he should be a free victory with our current setup. In terms of card drops, he has 43 of the 49 fiends we have currently unlocked thus far in the story. Sadly, other than La Jin, he's missing all the strong ones. If you're able to S or A tech rank him, he has the highest odds of dropping a job change mirror, that being a 1.95% chance. Would you bother with that? Probably not. It would likely be quicker power ranking Duel Master K. And speaking of power ranks, Mage Soldier goes down and awards us a crawling dragon. Obtaining the map, we exit Metropolis and head back to the valley. After giving Sidin the map, he leads us into the ruins. An ominous figure hangs above us in the sky. It has become clear that Heishin must have obtained his newfound power from this place. Seto emerges behind us and tells us that we can find the rest of the items using the golden map on the wall. Instead of coming along to help with us, he smoke bombs out, leaving us to deal with what I can only imagine to be the beginning of the Phobocalypse. Gaining access to all the shrines, we're going to target the Desert Shrine first. This will be our next grind target. The lower Desert Mage doesn't award us anything we're looking for, which is sad. The pleasure, on the other hand, lies with Martis. As we can easily summon a monster over 2700 attack, let's kick off the trivia. The next card in our deck that we're going to look at is Witty Phantom. Let's start with its Japanese name, Jin Death Satan. A bit over the top for a suave red dude, but hey, that's Japan for ya. The card itself released in Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and also appeared in the anime during episode 44 of the Virtual World arc. If you want to count this one as an appearance, it also appeared in YuGiOh GX. It was a dual monster spirit that stood at the sidelines and cheered Bron on when he dueled against Jaden. And that's about all there is to know about Witty Phantom. Getting back to the duel, we're on to our last turn. Popping a trusty Raigeki for the win, we attack the game with Horn Imp and with Bakuri Box. Lower Desert Mage goes down, and it doesn't matter what he awards us because it will do us no good. On to Martis. Oh no, it looks like the Furbies have infiltrated the shrines. Pinwheel over here should be used to having a spare face, however, this creature is a little too fiendish, so I think it's in our best interest to rescue the bloke. Martis is glossed over during most of my playthroughs, but this time I'm going to give him a little more attention. For a Desert Mage, the strongest cards in his deck are actually Fiends. To drive the point even further, he carries the equipped card Violet Crystal in his deck. Violet Crystal coincidentally works with the top 4 strongest Fiend monsters. That is, of course, if he was smart enough to use it. Moving on to his drop tables, the strongest cards he can award you are also Fiends. And speaking of Fiends, he carries a whopping 49 Fiends in his SA rank table. I didn't bother counting BCD, I suspect it's similar numbers. 4 of the said 49 Fiends are what I'm going to target for the final 6. Now, before this deck gets an upgrade, let's cover off the last bit of trivia, looking specifically at the card Horned Imp. First appearing in the manga as a level 5 monster, Horned Imp released in the OCG as part of Volume 6. It was a level 4 monster on its debut. The card itself was summoned during episode 7 of Duelist Kingdom. It must have left quite an impression, because Mattel decided to release a figurine for it. Guess they wanted to double down on the Imp monsters. Aside from that, there's nothing worth noting. Getting back to the duel, we've landed the final attack against Martis. He drops us a spiked snail. Rescuing Martis, he bequeaths us the Millennium Scales, pleading us to stop Heishin before fading away into the sands. No worries mate, gonna need you to hold on while I play some card games in free duel. Firing up our sketchy Brazilian 30 card drop ROM, we obtain a copy of Dragon Seeker, King of Yami Bakura, Soul Hunter, Ushioni, and Zoa. Forgetting what I was grinding for midway, I also picked up a copy of Neck Hunter and Air Eater. Our deck looks like this. What a power up from Martis of all people. Not much else to do other than to pick up where we left off. Crossing the desert, we reach the Forest Shrine. Bandage Face's strongest monster is a 2700 attack Jirai Gumo, so basically equal to Martis. I guess now is as good a time as ever to continue with the trivia, especially with all the new cards in our deck. Now I would start with those, but given that it's in my hand, let's cover off Job Change Mirror. JCM is an OCG only card, releasing in Booster Pack 7. It received a Rush Duel counterpart named Class Change Mirror, whose effect is to bring back a Summon Skull from your graveyard. This is probably a reference to this game and Duels of the Roses. Aside from what I know, there's no other lore reason for that linkage. Despite being an awesome card, Job Change Mirror has no anime appearances. Wrapped up in a neat little package, we deal the final attack against the lower Forest Mage. He awards us a Tentacle Plant. Reaching Anubisius, we find that he too is afflicted by the effects of the Phobocalypse. Jono to the rescue. Getting into this duel, the key card we need to look out for is Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. And going by our turn 1 hand, things aren't looking too great. For now, we're going to dump what we can till we get some more equips. Or not. Looks like Anubisius bricked just as hard as we did. Actually, scratch that, even harder. That's a 2100 attack Flame Cerberus. The AI will always summon out their strongest card. There are 18 monsters in his deck that are stronger than Flame Cerberus. He monumentally bricked his starting turn. He redeems himself by top decking a Rabid Horseman, but it's far too late. We are genuinely up to the last turn of the game. Passing it back to us, we summon out literally anything, clear away his field, and attack for game with Zoa. Anubisius is defeated and he awards us a Dark Walled Thorns. Dispelling the Furby, Anubisius retreats back to his toilet roll, leaving behind the Millennium Key. With the past shrines taken over by Furbies, we decide to check in on everyone else at the duel grounds. Jono informs us that Teana has been abducted by Kidnaption, so we give chase to rescue her. Stopping us in our tracks is a Labyrinth Mage, aka Suzukichi if he collected YuGiOh cards instead of Psych Pins. Now, this duel can go pear-shaped if he manages to go for a turn 1 Gate Guardian, else you're going to get the Gate Guardian pieces or a Labyrinth Wall. Bricking our hand, we summon out whatever we can to clear the mess, and it looks like it's a turn 1 Wall Shadow. Popping off a fusion into Summon Skull, it's time we continue the trivia. The next card we're going to cover off is Soul Hunter. In Forbidden Memories, if you fuse a Crass Clown or a Clown Zombie with a Reptile, it will result in this card. As for the TCG, this card was released as a short print in Astral Pack 7. It has not had any re-releases as of the making of this video. And that's about all there is to know. Attacking directly with Summon Skull, Labyrinth Mage goes down. He awards us with a Dragon Piper before promptly disappearing from our sights. Pressing on, we reach the Golden Door and emerge to find Heishin and the Furbies trying to corrupt Teana. Before we can react, they run away, leaving Seto and Teana behind. Having no idea what else to add to my messed up storyline, we challenge Seto to a duel to keep the momentum going. Our starting hand is fantastic. We have just enough equips to boost Bazinga Box to 3800 attack. Seto2's strongest monster is Gate Guardian. So long as we don't incur any Crush Card or Raigeki shenanigans, we should be sweet. Taking a look at Seto2's A rank drop table, Seto is another opponent who drops the strongest 4 Fiend monsters, albeit at a slightly higher rate than Martis. How slight? 0.2% higher. Ooh, what a difference. It goes without saying that it's more consistent farming them from Martis given his low difficulty, especially in Free Duel where he is nerfed even further since he doesn't start with Wasteland on the field. After going tit for tat with Seto2, we pop off a Raigeki for the win and attack the game with Bazinga Box. We win. Seto2 goes down and he awards us a Kagemusha of the Blue Flame. Being strangely pleased by his defeat, Windblow runs off once more. Squeaky shoes and all. Returning back to the duel grounds, it's time we say goodbye to our friends and continue on with the mages. Moving clockwise, we have the Meadow Shrine. The lower mages are about as strong as each other. Meadow Mage's strongest monster is a 2700 attack Judge Ban. We need to be conscious, however, that we don't leave any of our monsters on a Moon Guardian Star. That is of course unless we powered them up to the crap house with equips. With a 3600 attack Zoa on the field, let's continue the trivia. The next card from our deck is Air Eater. First making its debut in episode 1 in Duelist Kingdom, Air Eater had the pivotal role of being one of the many cards in Kaiba's briefcase. Its success continued on. In the OCG, it released in Booster Pack 6, and has not been reprinted since. It later received an upgraded fusion variant of itself in the TCG called Aerial Eater. And wrapped up like a neat little package, Meadow Mage goes down. With the lower mage out of the way, I think we need to check in on Kepura. I'm hoping he's high enough in the food chain to take care of himself. Entering the shrine, it looks like we have an Elder Toguro situation on our hands. Having consumed the Furby, it has taken possession of Kepura from the inside. I guess we better challenge him to a duel to see if we can Heimlich this thing out. Kicking things off in this duel, our starting hand isn't all that great, so we decide to dump 2 and see what his first monster is. Luckily for us, it looks like it's a Black Skull Dragon. Fantastic. Given that we have a Zoa in our hand and we have at least 2 equips, we should have this duel in the bag, unless we get an unlucky top deck of a Gate Guardian. But hey, let's flip that coin when we get to it. For now, let's continue the card trivia, and moving on to our next card, which is Dragon Seeker. Dragon Seeker released in Dark Beginnings 2 and has not been reprinted since. In the anime, Kaiba summoned this card against his dual robot in episode 54, which he later attributed for Obelisk the Tormentor. And that's basically it. There isn't all that much else on this card. Getting back to the game, we use our Zoa to take out his Millennium Shield. This leaves him wide open for an attack from Soul Hunter and Bazinga Box. Given that we have a Raigeki in our hand, this duel is as good as done. Popping it off, we attack for game with Bakuri Box. We win. Kepura goes down and he awards us with a baby dragon. Metaphorically punching this guy in the gut, he spits out a Furby and a Millennium Eye. Adding that Millennium item to our collection, we continue our journey and hike up the mountain to the Mountain Shrine. For those tuning in at this point, I apologise once again, I am still recovering from a cold. Can't do much about it. Despite this ginormous schnoz, it doesn't help with congestion. Oh well. Speaking of things ginormous, Mountain Mage's chin. Haven't used that joke before. The other thing ginormous about Mountain Mage is his deck potential. If he pulls off a twin-headed Thunder Dragon fusion, we're dealing with a 3300 attack monster. That is fairly impressive for a lower mage, but not all that good for us given that we bricked the first turn. Thankfully, the strongest solo cards in his deck reach 2600 attack, which is exactly the attack points of Zoa. So even without equips, we had this duel in the bag. Passing things back to us, we clear away his field and attack once with Soul Hunter and attack for game with Zoa. We win! The Crimson Chin goes down and he awards us with a Sinister Serpent. With lower mage defeated, we continue our hike until we reach Atenza. You can already tell where things are going from here. He too has been afflicted by the effects of the Phobocalypse. Better challenge him to a duel and restore him to his former self. Drawing up our first hand, it's not that great. We decide to change the field to Yami to either get a free attack on his life points, or as a consolation, not have to deal with too many things over 3000 attack. At the moment, Bakuri Box is our strongest card, matching his twin head at 2800 attack. At this point I'd normally go for the double KO, but for some reason I didn't do it. To my detriment, he changes the field back to Mountain and clears away Bakuri Box with his twin head. Not taking chances, we decide to Raigeki his field because we also drew another brick of a hand. Better start building that doghouse, I'm going to be living in it for a while. We power up a Soul Hunter up to 2700 attack, given that I forgot that Beast Fangs doesn't work on it. In retaliation, he summons out a 1000 Dragon which takes care of it. I am genuinely on the back foot and might actually lose this duel. Checking the cards in my hand, I look for the Guardian Star matchup, but unfortunately everything is a Moon or a Mercury. We risk it for the biscuit and drop a Raigeki prematurely. He retaliates with a set equip, which is fantastic for us. I remind Atenza that I am an idiot as well, and I botch up another equip fusion. Leaving a vanilla Ushi only on the field, we're going tit for tat at this point. He clears it away with a Black Dragon Jungle King, and my next turn, I finally have enough cards to get myself back in the green. I am a bit nervous about his two set equip cards. I'm hoping he doesn't summon something that can take advantage of both. Clenching my butt cheeks, he powers up a Punished Eagle with Follow Winds, and thankfully it's a defense move. We win. Popping off a Raigeki, we somehow clutch this victory at a D rank no less. Curing Atenza, he thanks us by giving us the Millennium Necklace. Only one mage left to go, and it's Sekmen's turn. Thank frick for that, he's the second weakest in my opinion. Before we can get to the big boy, we gotta take on the lower mage first. A good strategy for lower mages for newcomers to this game is to change the field to something else. 9 times out of 10, they'll change it back, giving you a free attack on their life points. If they don't, even better, you'll have the field advantage instead of them. Whilst we have the upper hand, let's continue the trivia. And the next card we're going to look at is Ushi Oni. In Forbidden Memories, you can summon this card by fusing a jar with a Dark Spellcaster monster. As for the TCG, the only way to get it was from the McDonald's promotional cards in North America. As for its anime appearances, it popped up in 5Ds, used in episode 6 and episode 7 by Bolt Teana in the ground duels. And that's about all there is to know. With a 5000 attack summon skull, we end the lower mage and get a Nemoriko. Putting on our swim trunks and our flippy floppies, we pay a visit to Sekmen's. It looks like we're too late again. The old man's currently being teabagged by a Furby. We can point and laugh, but I have a better idea. Now, in December 2024, I distinctly remember this guy finishing me off one time with a Raigeki. I'm not about to let a good deed go unpaid. So, as my present back to you, we're going to pay the favour back threefold. Passing the turn to Sekmen's, we don't give a crap about what he summons. Draw Raigeki Kado, and attack once with Bakura Box. Back to segment turn, he summons out Who Friggin' Cares. Draw Raigeki Kado and attack again with Bakura Box. Back to segment turn, just cower in fear my dude, because draw Raigeki Kado, attack for victory with Bazinga Box. Segment 10 is back where he belongs, at our feet. I couldn't give two craps about the Furby, screw this guy. I'm taking his necklace while I'm at it. We have obtained our second set of Millennium items. I say the second set because we still have the trading cards from the future. Now, before we hit up the Vast Shrine, it's time to set up our deck. Exiting to the menu, we redeem a copy of Bistro Butcher from the card password machine. And back in Free Duel, we get a copy of both Bright Castle and Megamorph. Our final 6 deck looks like this. Not much changes, we just sub out some redundant equips for Bright Castles and maybe 1 or 2 monsters for a Megamorph. Back in Egypt, it's time to put an end to the Phobocalypse. Entering the Vast Shrine, Seto 2.5 opens the doors for us and lets us walk right in. Great security right there. We are greeted once again by the delinquent duo Sebek and Neku. Let the final 6 gauntlet begin. Being a Dark Shrine, the activated field spell is Yami. This is a boon to us. We have the benefit of a field advantage, all the way up to Heishin no less. My goal throughout this gauntlet is to number 1, win, and number 2, remember to show off as many 3D battle animations as possible. Starting off with Bakura Box. Well, I was lucky that was a Millennium Shield. Passing the turn back to Sebek, he retaliates with nothing. Given that we have an upper hand with a Megamorph, let's continue on with the 3D animations. Up next is Ushi Oni. Okay, either Yamcha or Gogeta is going to source for that one. Attacking once more with Bakura Box, we have Sebek on his last legs. Drawing into a Raigeki, we pop it off for the win and attack once and attack twice to put an end to the Crocman. Obtaining an A rank from this duel, we get a 2-headed King Rex. With Sebek running away to cry in a corner, Neku steps in to take his place. The biggest threat from Neku is Skull Knight, so yeah, not that threatening at all. Whilst we gear up for the next 3D animation, let's continue the trivia. The next card on our list is the Bistro Butcher. This card did not get added to my deck. Why? I simply forgot. That's who I am as a person. We'll pause for now because it's another 3D animation. Oh hey, a mirror match. Skull Archfiend of Lightning goes down, so let's continue where we left off. Bistro Butcher is redeemable in Forbidden Memories via the card password machine, or Pocket Station if you can be bothered. In the TCG, it released as part of Metal Raiders and Dark Beginning 2. And that's all she wrote, and that's all that Neku wrote. Awarding us a Castle of Dark Illusions, he fades away into nothing. Mentally preparing ourselves, it's time we take on Vast Shrine Shin. Quick recap, cards we need to watch out for: Gate Guardian. Anything else? Yeah, his entire back row of crap. Drawing into a dead hand, he summons out a Gate Guardian. I'm not too worried, we should be able to deal with that, given that we have the field advantage. Drawing into a Bakura Box, there we go. I think we're fine so long as I don't stuff up this fusion. 1, 2, 3800 attack, we're back in the game. Let's continue the trivia till we kick off the next 3D battle. The next card I'm covering off is King of Yami Bakura. You would have seen this in my ritual video and probably already got a debrief of some trivia, so I'll keep it brief. This is one of the ritual materials in Forbidden Memories needed to summon out Zero the Mont. In the anime, this is one of the many Fiend monsters contained within Panic's deck. The rest of the trivia I have is a bit of conjecture, so instead, let's finish it off with this 3D battle animation. Defeating Zero the Mont with a Zoltrak to the face, we finish things off with Zoa. We win! The rank is a B and we get a Flame Ghost. Incapacitating Vast Shrine Shin, Seto grabs his Millennium item and rushes off ahead. Entering the Forbidden Ruins once again, Seto has the galaxy brain idea of fighting us for the remaining Millennium items. He thinks that he's strong enough to put an end to the Phobocalypse. Well, Kai begun, let's set the record straight and have ourselves a duel. Seto 3rd is no joke. Yes, he has a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, but the thing we need to remember for the remainder of this duel is to ensure that we do not leave any of our monsters in a Moon Guardian star. Ultimate Dragon, Media Black Dragon, and Blue Eyes White Dragon all have access to a Sun Guardian star. Though Seto has bricked his first turn, let's see what he just top decked. Attack, it's a Gate Guardian. Okay, we can do something about that. Having just enough equips for our Summon Skull, we can clear his field. We're not out of the woods though, he can still top deck an Ultimate Dragon, so I need at least one more equip to be on the safe side. Passing the turn back to Seto, he responds with either a Gate Guardian or Blackluster Soldier. I'm going to take a guess that it's Blackluster. No matter what it is, let's show off the 3D battle animation for Zoa. Oh, Black Skull. Guess I was wrong about that one. Dynamite kicking the dragon away. We attack and get ready to put an end to this duel. We have a Raigeki left over in our hand, so we're going to pop it off and land the final hit with Summon Skull. Suck on that, Seto, we win. Obtaining a C rank for this duel, we get a Whiptail Crow. Alright champ, hand it over. Go sit in the corner and think about what you did. On his way to said corner, Knife Shin grabs hold of Seto. Hostage time. Returning to his usual strategy, he takes the items from us and proceeds to summon forth Darknite. As per the usual fashion, Darknite refuses to listen because Heishin no longer has the Millennium items. You know, since he consumed all of them performing the ritual to summon him to this world. Ooh, fell by a technicality. That must burn. Turning his sights on us, Darknite notices a strange figure approaching.
Lulu, go away, wah.
Horrified by the Oloklido Diavolo standing before him, Darknite shits bricks and tries to gain some power by stealing the Millennium card still in our possession. Time to defend ourselves in a duel. Darknite is thankfully fairly easy. You only really need to watch out for his Cosmo Queen or his Media Black Dragon. The card we're going to try and set up for the next 3D battle is Soul Hunter. That is assuming of course that he plays nice with us. Setting that card looks like a Mars sign, so yep, definitely a Media Black. With two clown-faced Crusaders on the field, I think we got this duel in the bag. 3D battle time. With Soul Hunter's animation done, I think there's only one card left. Fingers crossed I pull Dragon Seeker for this duel, otherwise it's going to be an uphill battle for Nightmare. Nah, no Dragon Seeker. Oh well. Let's beef up our Summon Skull to 4600 attack and put an end to this duel. Attack once with Soul Hunter, and attack the game with Summon Skull. Dark Knight goes down. He awards us a Dark Grey. Failing in his first attempt, Nightmare grows desperate and tries his hand against us once more. We have had first try victories in all of our duels thus far. Fingers crossed, Nightmare doesn't break that streak. Starting things off with a Raigeki in our hand is reassuring, however, we need a few more equips to deal with an Ultimate Dragon. Like that one right there. Ugh. Not taking any chances, I'm going to clear away the Ultimate Dragon and hope that we get a monster that's compatible with our current equips. Nightmare retaliates with a Gate Guardian, which is not too bad but not all that great, and I think we're okay. 3150, 3650, 4150. We are okay in terms of Gate Guardians, but if we get an Ultimate Dragon we are screwed. Summon, Moon, that's it, we've got this. I could play it safe and use a Dark Energy, but instead I'm going to fuse out a Summon Skull and just get that set up on the side to chip away. Oni takes out the Guardian, Skull attacks, and he's left with 4200 attack. Skullface summons out a Media Black, and over to me we have a Raigeki. Let's use it. Leaving Nightmare on exactly 50 life points, I'm hoping out on the off chance that we draw Dragon Seeker. Last card, nope, it's a Megamorph. Let's finish things. Attack the game with Ushioni and Nightmare goes down. Losing to us for the second time, Nightmare is incinerated by the Furby. Well, Furby, it appears I've misjudged you. After all this time, our enemy was the same, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Sitting atop our throne with our furry nostalgic friend, we have successfully beaten Forbidden Memories using a Fiend type deck. Time for the run wrap up. The campaign took 38 duels to complete, of which we incurred 0 losses. We spent a crap load of time in free duel, amassing 254 duels, bringing our total duel count to 292 duels. The average duel duration was 2 minutes and 8 seconds, that's 4 seconds slower than spellcasters, bringing the total campaign to 1 hour and 20 minutes. In terms of ranking, this was a hard one. Fiends ran parallel to spellcasters in terms of competency. I am placing them ever so slightly before spellcasters purely because of the 4-second slowness and because Dark Magician and Skull Knight had a better matchup against the final 6. Hey everyone, Jono here. Thank you all so much for making it to the end of this video. With all the Furbies I had to search for, I think I need to purge my search history or shoot my laptop, one or the other. Before I sign off, I want to give a shout out to my supporters Lily Laser 666, Hollywood Big Boss, and Costeru Des. A massive thank you to you all. The next video after this one will be taking on the final 6 with Pocket Station Fiends, plus any trivia of all the cards we didn't cover off in this video. I am hoping I can get that one out to you sooner. So in the meantime, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to stay notified of my next release. If you don't, a Furby will be under your bed. And with all that said, stay awesome people. Hope you all draw a Raigeki for the win, and I'll be seeing you all soon.